Look, I've seen that press report. It's not accurate. We're watching this very, very closely, and we will, and we have, and will continue to take steps to mitigate any potential threat that those activities might pose, so that we can make sure, and we're positive, that we can continue to defend this nation.
You're saying it's not accurate that they're planning this?
I'm saying we've seen the report. It's not accurate.
So that was National Security Council spokesman John Kirby last week denying a Wall Street Journal report that China reached a secret deal with Cuba to build a Chinese spy base on America's doorstep just 90 miles south. Fast forward less than 48 hours, and the Biden administration is walking back that denial, saying this is an ongoing issue and not a new development, and the arrangement as characterized in the reporting does not comport with our understanding. What's going on here? Joining us now, Republican Congressman Mike Gallagher of Wisconsin, chairman of the House Select China Committee. Is there a disconnect? Like, did you know that China had this base and this agreement down in Cuba?
Well, I think the question is, why is the White House downplaying incidents like this? Why did they deny it and then backtrack and then blame the Trump administration? Because it's not just this. The exact same thing played out with the Chinese spy balloon incident. And in the absence of a coherent explanation, I'm left to conclude that they are misleading the public. They are whitewashing Chinese Communist Party aggression in order to preserve their policy of diplomatic and economic engagement with the Chinese Communist Party. This policy will not work for the same reason it has not worked for the last 2 decades, because the CCP is not interested in win-win cooperation. They're interested in domination. And so we need to take off these utopian blinders. We need to understand who we're dealing with, and we need to stand up firmly to CCP aggression. They respect only firmness, and they have contempt for those who continually give in to them. And that's what really concerns me about these series of incidents.
So it is, look, it appears to be the case. They've been working on this thing since 2019. I think we can agree on that now, right? Based on the reporting anyway for the past 4 years. But we've got Gitmo on Cuba. I mean, we have our own way to either assess what they are doing or to block it.
More to your point, Bill, this is our backyard, right? This is the attempt by the CCP to turn the Monroe Doctrine into the Mao Doctrine, because it's not just what's happening in Cuba with this report. It's across the region. It's even in the current government in Mexico, their overtures to Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party. It's the CCP infiltration of the Panama Canal, which is an obvious critical choke point for the global economy. It's their involvement with the variety of governments in South America. We've neglected our own backyard for far too long. We've turned a blind eye to the increasing aggression and involvement of the Chinese Communist Party, our foremost adversary. And now incidents like this should be a massive wake-up call, just like the balloon incident should have been a massive wake-up call, just like the OPM hack should have been a massive wake-up call. But yet, the Biden administration is persisting with this zombie engagement strategy. It makes no sense. It's a triumph of delusion over hard-won experience.
And, Congressman, there was this big piece in Politico on Friday, and the headline was, "The Pentagon is freaking out about a potential war with China." And the reason, I guess, is because they've done some war gaming, and it doesn't look good from our side. Here's a quote from Becca Wasser. She played a role in the Chinese leadership at the Select Committee's war game. She said this: "The most common thread in these exercises is that the U.S. needs to take steps now in the Indo-Pacific to ensure the conflict doesn't happen in the future. We are hugely behind the curve. Ukraine is our wake-up call. This is our watershed moment." Do you agree?
I do, and we conducted that war game on the Select Committee on the CCP in order to, in a bipartisan fashion, figure out what we need to do in Congress to prevent war. That's what it's all about. We need to be moving heaven and earth to put hard power in Xi Jinping's path before it's too late, because a war with China would be incredibly destructive. So the question is, how do you prevent it? You prevent it by having a credible deterrent posture. But what we're seeing from the Biden administration is diplomacy disconnected from a credible military threat. And as the old saying goes, diplomacy without arms is like music without instruments. We need to be doing better. We need to be producing more missiles, long-range precision fires. And that was the conclusion of our recent bipartisan policy recommendations, 10 for Taiwan, that we put out on the Select Committee on the CCP. We need to deter World War III before we stumble into it unprepared.
Do you expect this to be part of the 2024 election then? Since you said that You've done this. You think that's bipartisan. Would you like to see some commitments from the candidates about what they would do?
I think how we confront the Chinese Communist Party, our greatest foreign policy challenge, absolutely should be front and center. Every single candidate should be asked about this issue. It's at a minimum a top 3 issue, and they need to be making the case that this isn't just a distant over their problem. It's not just a matter of territorial claims in the South or East China Sea. It's a right here at home problem. It's a matter of defending our sovereignty from increasing communist aggression as illegal police stations on American soil show, as the spy balloon shows, as a variety of these incidents show. This should be front and center in the 2024 election. And for a Republican nominee, they have to make an effective critique of the Biden administration's foreign policy, which is failing us, but also articulate a positive vision for peace through strength going forward.
More to come on that. Sir, thank you for